All right, what's going on? All right. Hope everybody's had a great day today. I hope you guys return home safely from this long, extended holiday here. All right, what I'm about to tell you is a very serious story. I believe, we laughed and we cried about this story. Okay, a lot of people made jokes about this man I'm about to say, things like that, and I believe that people were starting to think that his story wasn't true, or his story may have been a hustle, particularly when the Diddy and Cassie thing came out. Then, that kind of overshadowed, this man, and then I believe the story got pushed aside. And if you guys have been keeping up with him, this is the reason why this guy crashed out at the Bronx River Projects. I'm talking about Hassan Campbell, you know what I'm saying? I mean, big ups to Hassan Campbell for being a brave guy and to be able to tell his story and not to give up. And, guess the guy believed in himself so much. And he was one of the first guys I was listening to when I got into the conscious community in YouTube in 2016 himself, and then the elder. Okay, these guys still make content today. In fact, Hassan just dropped a video here just now. All right, just popped up on my feed and things like that. So, about Afrika Bambatta. Okay, had molested him when he was a kid and things like that, okay? That this guy talked about that for years. And actually, I've studied and I've done research and kind of kept an eye on that matter here for about 9 years myself and things like that, I think probably what overshadowed this case was it was probably true, but how would the man Afrika Bambatta, would he ever stand for judgment? But now we're getting these guys like Cosby, and you got Diddy now. Probably looks like Jay-Z and these, a lot Weinstein, because I don't want to just mention it ain't just us. Okay, there's going to be others too. It's now coming forth for judgment. Now Afrika Bambatta's up, for judgment now. Okay. For molesting boys. So basically, backstory here. Afrika Bambatta, as I guess he didn't show up to court, and he ended up getting a judgment against him by default for not showing up for a 1991 essay of a guy named John Doe. And Hassan Campbell, I guess, name was in on this too. Okay, they didn't necessarily name him, but he's one of the guys or whatever that I guess ended up getting a judgment against him. Okay, this is against Afrika Bambatta. Now, probably, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months ago, I made another video about a man in England, a director that was SA'd allegedly by Afrika Bambatta and things like that. Okay, let me tell you something. Around that time, around the latter 80s, many of these guys, they're probably like in their 50s, probably pushing 60, some of them, they had to go through the, the Zulu Nation. If I say the Nation Islam, my apologies, the Zulu Nation in Bronx and things like that. And that's how you would go and through one of those organizations like that to be able to get a shot at the rap industry. A lot of people didn't make it. Okay, that kind of thing. All right, Hassan Campbell was one of them, but I think he didn't blossom to be, the rapper that he wanted to be. In fact, you can see Hassan Campbell in the back of one of the Tribe Called Quest's CDs. I believe it was the first one that they did. Okay, with Benita Applebaum. We don't talk about the 80s enough. Okay, but I was, a teenager in the 80s when a lot of this stuff happens. But this is where you had to go, just to name a few others. Okay, guys like Eric B and Rakim, LL, Tribe Called Quest, if y'all remember those guys, MC Shan, a few others, you know, that had to kind of go down that route. KRS-One, okay.
You know where is that? The taxis? Back
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, many others. And that being said, I made a video maybe a couple of years ago about some other allegations and things like that. One of the guys was MC Shan, and they interviewed him, and I think he just didn't want to talk about it. You see, I think that, Jay-Z though too. Jay-Z and Jazz had went through that camp as well. Okay, because, you know, that was a place that you had to go to be an inspired rapper and things like that. So I'm pretty sure that it's a grooming process. Okay? Am I saying that happened to everybody? No, it hasn't, but that's probably what people are going to assume now. But back to MC Shan, okay, where he had there was some allegations and things like that he was SA'd, but Shan didn't want to talk about it when he did an interview. I had a guy that commented when I did the video about that guy in England about 3 or 4 months back, and there was somebody that said KRS-One and Q-Tip, those guys are SA'd, you know, and they may have had it covered up by making, you know, getting a record deal and that kind of thing or whatever, and probably just paid off to keep their mouth shut. There's going to probably be some guys that are not, you know, going to go on and that, you know, their lives and not say anything. But what this thing is going to do, they'll probably have more people coming forward or whatever talking about this. And if this thing keeps up, then the state of New York is going to get in this thing, and then Afrika Bambatta is going to be susceptible to criminal charges, okay? Molesting damn boys. Now, one of the stories that I put out here a couple of years ago, where when the Sun had came out with this story probably back in 2016, and not too long after that, you had Dr. Malachi York, one of the directors over there at the Zulu Nation, that done got locked up, okay? That's already one sign right there, one red flag. Then maybe about 2018 or 19, and you could see this right on YouTube, where the Zulu Nation came out and they had apologized for every allegation that they were talking about, and they didn't want to have any parts of this or whatever. They said that none of the stuff reflected on what they did. Now, I don't know if they got new members or what, okay? But that's right on YouTube. That's public information, y'all, okay? So I guess it got to a point where some people came forward and be like, look, you know, we didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't have anything to do with it. And some people, you know, are probably going to take this thing to the grave. There may be some people that may come forward because maybe they, for quite some time, they wanted to vet, but, you know, they weren't able to because maybe they were afraid they were probably going to be offed or, you know, that kind of thing. You know, it's like one of the things where they're kind of like destroying the honor or loyalty and things, you know, to that nature. But anyway, with the case that the Afrika Bambatta didn't show up to court, just happened a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, and you know, which says that basically that he's guilty. I've seen interviews where he did with Vlad TV, where basically he didn't bring it up or he denied these claims, but you know, obviously somebody, you know, in the New York Southern District Courts feel somewhat different about it. You know, there must have been some type of proof. I kept, or some type of truth to it. I kept hearing about Ron Savage, this other guy that Hassan brought up. He was a producer and things like that. He had brought it up, and I think he tried to roll back on his age, but it goes to show right there that this guy, you know, was messing around with men, which I guess is legal, but what it does is it causes confusion. in closing, I want to say this. Groups like that, and I'm not going to call out any other groups up there in New York where I found interesting, were made to try to protect, promote, the community, the black community, and things like that. Now they have a hip hop museum up there and things like that. And they may have done a good job getting some of the talent out, but it seemed like some of the people that whoever were involved, I say participant, including the Afrika Bambatta, had denigrated the same people that they were trying to help. And I think maybe that's time that a judgment needs to be made. And again, that's the first judgment, y'all. Okay? Wow, it really makes you think. I'm like, wow, imagine that. But I'm glad Hassan is able to get, his vindication and all that. A lot of people have been making jokes about him and things like that, that kind of thing, getting ratings off this man, but probably many men are, or if not more, are being molested more than women are now, okay? And people, maybe a thing where, oh man, you're a man and you can suck it up, pride and this and that and all that or whatever. No, okay? This stuff dilapidates men too, their mind state and things like that, okay? And I think that this is something that, I was about to say Diddy, you know what I'm saying? I think that he has too. Hassan has been manipulated since he was a child, manipulated into that role when he was a teenager, okay? To where he had that type of mindset, dilapidated mindset, where pretty much, he had became dependent upon the Afrika Bambatta until he wasn't anymore. And I think that we need to probably understand and be more compassionate about, incidents like this, when it comes to men and all that, okay? And men, I think it's something because of that. A lot of men are discredited, but hopefully, again, a change will be made. So let me not ramble on about that, all right? I'm glad that Hassan could be able to get some type of reprieve or relief. And, Afrika Bambatta is going to have to pay through the nose. Whatever he gets, he deserves, okay? And I think they may have to seriously consider taking that man off of the Hip-Hop Hall of Fame roster. They may have to consider that. So let me know what you think. Cash App $Winston if you want to donate. And thanks for your time. I know I probably went over the 10-minute thing, but I think this is information I feel like it's edifying, that we need to know. All right, peace.